match is kendo's first after 4 years completely away. And he goes up in this match against Ironfist Clive Myers. Clive, very popular, gifted technical wrestler. Anyone who was wrestling in Britain in the 70s and 80s naturally was, with the exception of one man, Big Daddy. Clive Myers was Jamaican who had moved to South London, and he was, like we said back in those days, he was a goodie. We didn't use the term face or blue eyes.
Right.
You would have said he were a goodie and a baddie. Clive Myers was a goodie. He was always a goodie, wrestled fairly, very good technically, and he was a little bit smaller, even though he was very, very well muscled, very chiseled, than a lot of the people that he'd go up against. The A to Z of British Wrestling, which is a magazine from the late 70s, early 80s that I've got, has a good profile on him. It says, his heavily muscled ebony frame suggests Iron Fist is a keep fit fan. He is. Swimming and running keep him in tip-top condition. In a more passive mood, he likes to relax with photographs and soul music.
Photographs.
Yeah,
not taking photographs.
Before he was in wrestling, he was actually a press photographer for West Indian newspapers. So I think he did actually. One of the things I'd seen about him on YouTube, someone mentions that they knew him. He was a neighbour, and they said, "Oh, if only you could have seen his merchandise collection. You know, it would just make you cry. Think what happened to it." And I thought, I could cry.
I'm crying now.
But the very fact that Clive Myers was a photographer, I do think there's probably also a Clive Myers archive.
Yeah.
Of the, once a photographer, always a photographer. That camera would have come out a load of times. And Clive is still with us.
What's been happening to him? I've just seen a picture of him on the internet, looking pretty good.
He looks great.
I think he got back in the ring quite recently.
He did, but he went on to another career after wrestling, which was he was a big fan of arm wrestling, and he became a pioneer of arm wrestling as a competitive sport.
Is that what it's called? Iron Claw?
Well, Iron Fist sort of came from. Right. I think he used to wear a mask, and so he was Iron Fist. I believe that would have been about the time of the Marvel character Iron Fist being invented.
Okay, that's it.
But fitting very much into that moment where everyone is obsessed with martial arts and Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
He took the mask off. I don't think he was unmasked in the ring. I think he just sort of went, this isn't really working. And he had the name Iron Fist. Now, he goes on to start doing Indoor League on television, which was hosted by Freddie Truman, which was a show that had sort of basically bar sports.
Yeah.
Skittles and stuff like that. A classic that's always shown on Granada Men and Motors sort of thing. But he began doing his own promotions on arm wrestling, and he really, really found himself like the thing that he loved even more than wrestling. He felt it was a sport that anyone could compete in. So he had a thing of saying, even if you were old or your gender, your skill, your social background, or if you had a physical disability, you could arm wrestle. I think he was overestimating. You also have to be really strong at arm wrestling.
Yeah?
Is this the kind of sport that attracts the bully boys?
No, not really, Vince. I mean, it's open for anyone as long as they abide by the rules and regulation of the organization. Matter of fact, children of all ages doing it, the physically disabled are rather involved in doing arm wrestling, which is an opportunity of them competing on an equal term.
Well, I certainly wish you all the best in America, Clive. I hope you come back with the crown.
Thank you.
And if I get my arm back, I'll see you at the same time next...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, only some people can do it, and it's very limited, is it?
Yeah, and it's not fun to watch.
No, it's only fun to watch because you just one arm might pop.
Yeah,
the leg might.
Exactly. In 1987, he achieves his dream, and he brings the World Arm Wrestling Championship to the Black Lion Sports Centre in Gillingham in Kent.
Lovely.
Okay, guys, you know the rules. Let's have it. Ice cream contest. Let's start at 3. Come on. Shoulder square. Shoulder square. Elbow's gonna come. Straighten your wrist. Straighten that wrist. Straighten your wrist. Come on. Let me see the knuckles. Let me see the knuckles. Okay? Straighten up. Are you ready? Go! Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Keep pumping. Keep going. Keep going. Keep pumping. Keep going. Keep going. Yes. Okay.
But from there, it carries on. So he ends up going to Hollywood, where he is the technical advisor on the arm wrestling film Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. And they like him so much that he gets quite a large role in the film as well. So Clive Myers goes on to a Hollywood career.
Yeah, nice.
He wrestled regularly until 1988. And like a lot of the older guys, when they lost television, he sort of went, well, maybe this is the time to call it a day. But he did occasionally come back. In the interim period, he converted to become a Jehovah's Witness. And I found a little article about him. It said he threw himself into promoting his new faith with the same vigour as he showed for his sport. As he reminds us, wrestling is the only sport mentioned in the Bible. He has had still occasional wrestling matches. His last recorded one was in 2015 on the Isle of Wight. He had a 17-minute match with Mr. Smooth, Johnny Kidd, who was a guy who was also from the World of Sport era. That is on YouTube in full. It's really charming. The comments underneath are very unkind. Very unkind. And Clive Myers returned to live in Jamaica a good few years ago. And he's enjoying the sun, the sand and sea on the island's north coast away from the centres of tourism. If you Google Clive Myers now, there are loads and loads of people who are really into arm wrestling got to wrestle the arm wrestling legend, Clive Myers.
Right.
And there is a video of him probably, taken within the last 5 years. He is easily in his late 70s. And it's him taking on a young bloke in an arm wrestling thing, shit-talking him the whole time, going, oh, very good, very good, very good. And then when he decides to, just putting him down. And he's an old dude and good Lord, he's a tough lad. So, look, this match, it takes place, Pete. Do you know the venue?
I don't, but I'm fairly certain it doesn't do the things that it used to do.
That's right.
Anymore, because, good God, energy crisis. A lot of lights.
This is the London Hippodrome.
Is it now?
It is.
That's interesting.
So it is still there.
Okay.
It is now a casino. There's a video on YouTube where they do a walkthrough. And it's when you get through into that main section, which is now, very opulent and casino tables. As this video takes you in, you can go, that's it. That's where the disco ladder match took place. You can recognise it. Hippodrome at this time was owned by Peter Stringfellow.
Was he? Wow.
It was.
For some reason, I always think of Peter Stringfellow as a man who sort of only owns like small concerns, because all of his clubs are quite small.
I believe he made his name in sort of like the small club scene in Sheffield and Doncaster.
Right.
Known for having great discos, the most beautiful ladies around. There's a brilliant video online of the Hippodrome in the 80s, uploaded by Stringfellow's TV, so a sort of corporate thing. And it's clearly made in 1989. They had it done. It would have cost £1 million to edit. Yeah. It would have taken 9 months. And it's probably about, 2.5 minutes long. Fuzzy VHS footage. It opens with the thing they're most proud of, which is a console to play with the lights.
Right,
which,
okay.
we obviously get to see in full flow in this match. And the opening thing is they show what happens in Stringfellows in the course of, I presume, the 6 months, the first 6 months it was opened.
Yeah.
Opens with Princess Diana making a visit as
okay,
well. There's a state visit. Stringfellow in a white shirt, but he's not tucked it into his suit.
Right.
So he looks over casual, like a sort of
like
Byron figure. Yeah. She comes in, you get to see all the greats who played the Hippodrome, Gary Glitter, Sunita.
Big one.
There's Maria Whittaker blowing a kiss.
Right.
It cuts back to Stringfellow waving and then she blows another one. It is the sort of the tawdry 80s that nobody talks about when they talk
nobody
about
celebrates
London nightlife. It was very much, men with tashes and sort of, who stare at the camera as it comes to in the middle of it, amongst all this dross, there's just a little clip where a lion bursts out onto the stage and the trainer falls and is dragged by it. And you see it up to the point where it gets to the other side of the stage. You notice people pulling back and it cuts to like Mel and Kim. It's like, what happened when...
fresh for the weekend. Hearing the roars in the
back. The lion that escaped. Don't worry about that. Look how beautiful Mel and Kim are.
We've got a 4 to 5 on our hygiene. Enjoy the fronds.
There's a drag ball here. We're all inclusive. Again, there was a lion that got loose.
Where's the lion now?
Please, my friend, stop talking about the lion.
Don't make me turn all lights out again. I'll turn them out.
Ashley, he won't stop talking about the lion. Show him what happens to people who don't start talking about lion. I was reading an old interview with Hulk Hogan, actually. He was doing an interview with Gordon Smart in the Sun or something. I forget what it was. But he mentioned...
So, Hulk, what do you think about Liam Gallagher?
So, actually, the whole interview, Hulk Hogan threatens Kasabian because he said that Kasabian sometimes check into hotels using wrestling names.
Oh, really?
Little fact for you. And I've got a load of these, actually. I don't know. I was watching the One Show the other day, and Andy Murray had his brother ask a question on air.
Yes.
And his brother went, how's your wrestling career going?
He wanted to be a wrestler, didn't you?
Yeah. And they sort of went back to Andy Murray and said, so tell us about that. And Andy Murray sort of really was like, don't want to talk
Well, that was a long time ago. I was a boy, and I'd love to hear him on the mic. Amazing. You're in for hard times, Daddy.
But Hogan's interview with Gordon Smart, where he threatens Kasabian, says he's going to have a match with them. At one point, he mentions, with no sort of there's nothing building up to it, and there's nothing sort of around it. He just mentions, I've got a battery in my back now.
And nobody goes, what?
No, and obviously, Gordon Smart has just sort of gone, that's the fucking strangest thing I've heard. And he sort of says, aside from the battery in his back, Hulk is doing well. But then he mentions the battery about 6 times during the article. But Hogan going on about having a battery in his back is a new thing that I've never heard of.
Yeah, so is he just, does he think that sounds futuristic? Like he wants to come back because he's got a battery in his back? I'll be back.
There really are rumours as well that he's basically been pitching for a WrestleMania match. He's very upset that his last match wasn't with the WWE. It was with TNA.
Okay.
And he is approaching, I think he's in his early 60s now, maybe mid 60s. So you see him more recently, he's not been on telly so much, and he's suddenly looking every
incredibly
bit.
Old,
yeah.
It's when big lads and people, you see that in wrestling. I mean, any wrestlers who get to that sort of age is
So few do.
incredible.
Yeah.
But when you see them kind of lose their mass a little bit. My dad lost about a stone last year, and I was like, they're exactly the sort of family to not tell me stuff. And I was like, what's going on here?
Pete, we've got some news for you. Your dad's taking on Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 37.
He's got, is my dad full of his discs fused? He looks about 3 inches shorter than he usually is. Yeah.
We've put a battery in his back.
Your dad's got a battery in his back.
He's got it, yes. Kendo Nagasaki, the legendary man from the old days of wrestling. Would lovely to see him back in the ring, but he's got this one, the special golden disc now, right?
So, look, Clive Myers, I believe, is still going. Kendo, of course, is still going. If their personal assistants, Lawrence, are listening to this, please do send them our best wishes for a wonderful Christmas. And the disco ladder match, yes, it was a disaster, but that doesn't change the fact that the two of them are Wrestle Me heroes.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
I want to know where that gold ladder went. it would have been sat somewhere.
Yeah.
In near some stage equipment forever.
Oh, completely.
And then it would just start to lose it would start to get scratched.
Yeah.
And it would just stop looking quite so gold.
Do you know what I look at, Pete? I think merch. And if we could get a trading card done with a picture of Clive Myers and Kendo, dual signature, and a little bit of that gold flake off the original ladder.
The ladder, yeah.
Oh,
beautiful.
We'll be on the north coast of Jamaica come this time next year.
Away from the tourist area.
Ow, Clive, you're hurting my arm.
Wrestle me, Mark.
Wrestle me, Pete.